welcome to my channel. My name is Sharon, and this is a channel that is dedicated to all things related to narcissism. I make videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on all types of topics related to narcissism. So if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. I would really appreciate it if you gave the video a thumbs up. It's a free way you can help me out. And definitely don't forget to leave a comment because I like to read what you have to say. So something amazing happened Wednesday afternoon. I was outside with my son and suddenly this Porsche pulls into my driveway. The person who lived in my house before me is a local celebrity, so for anybody who lives in New Hampshire, you would know who he is. And there he was in my driveway. So he gets out of his Porsche and he's walking up the driveway towards me and he's carrying this large stretched portrait of our house. My house, I say ours because he used to live here. And he comes up to me and he introduced himself. Now I knew who he was. And then he told me that when he lived in the house, he had paid $300 or $400 to have this made and he thought I might like it. So I have this beautiful portrait of my home to take with me when I leave. And I have to tell you, I have lived in this house since 2014. I'm leaving in 3 weeks. This guy doesn't know me. He just happened to come by and tell me he thought I might want it. This is a sign from God. I feel like this is an exclamation point. Like God is telling me, yeah, I'm here. I see you. And it's the most amazing thing. And I'm going to tell you a little bit later on in the video why exactly it was so fortuitous that I got this when I got it. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about escaping from a narcissist, because when you're with a narcissist and you want to leave, that is what you're doing. You have to escape. But before I do that, because it's Friday, I'm going to go into my Friday update. For those of you that are new to the channel, I'm in the process of leaving my narcissistic ex. And what I do on Friday is I give you an update on where I stand in doing that. So I told you last Friday that I was going to be leaving on Christmas Day. That's changed. Actually, Joe and I changed the date. It's going to now be Christmas Eve. So Joe already has his plane reservation. He's coming out here at midnight on Christmas Eve. I'm going to pick him up at the airport. We're going to come back to my house, drop off the car, and I'll have already rented a truck. That'll be parked a little bit up the street. We'll get the truck, and I also this week rented a storage unit. My son and I brought a bunch of boxes there. Now, the reason I did this is because really the biggest fear I have when it comes to moving is that my ex is going to find out. And he does stalk me, and I feel like Christmas is a really good time for him to want to drive by. I mean, he does it anyways, all the time anyways. So I'm assuming that, and I don't know this for sure because I'm not in a steady pattern of communication with him. I believe, or typically, he would work until about 2 o'clock on Christmas Eve, and he works in Boston, which is about an hour from where I live. So our assumption, now granted, maybe he's taking the day off, I don't know, but we're going to be doing this in the middle of the night anyways. So we're thinking we have until early afternoon, but it won't take that long. So we're going to go to the storage unit, get everything out of that, come back to my house, which would be 3:30, say 4 o'clock at the absolute latest if Joe's plane is late or something. Wake up the kids, get the rest of the stuff in the truck. So that would be furniture and the animals, and then we're going to go. Once I'm over the state line, I'm going to get out of the truck, get on my knees, and thank God. This is literally the scariest thing I have ever done in my life, but I don't have a choice, and I feel, God has gifted me with bravery and strength to do this, but I'm still feeling fear. When I make these videos, I really am walking on faith every single second. And I'm working hard to try to keep a positive attitude, but it's incredibly stressful. And another thing I did yesterday was that I quit my job. That was a no turning back moment, and it was intimidating. And so I went to work and I quit right before I left. I was going to quit earlier in the day, but then my coworker actually was like, no, you should wait till right before you leave. That way it's not awkward when you're here. So I was like, all right. So I did do that and it went okay. My boss was understanding. However, I found out yesterday, I didn't know this. On Sunday, I had told 2 coworkers that I was leaving, and word got around. Well, actually, word got around because one of these people, she's quitting too. So I knew that she was thinking about quitting. But I'm working yesterday, and this woman I was working with yesterday comes up to me and she said, Sharon, I heard that you're quitting. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, yeah, I'm quitting today. And she's like, me too. I work at a consignment store. The store is already closed on Mondays. Well, it used to be closed just on Mondays. We're so short-staffed. It's closed on Tuesdays now too. I'm leaving. My daughter's leaving. 2 other people are leaving. That leaves only 2 employees. 2 people are left at the store. And my boss doesn't know this yet because the other two people that are quitting, one of them is quitting on Saturday, the other one is quitting on Wednesday. So my boss has no idea that he's about to have the worst Christmas ever. I don't know how the store is going to stay open. So that was just this like weird freak thing that happened. Everybody's quitting at exactly the same time. Now, another thing that is, as I'm moving, as I'm getting things ready, because I've been packing and thinking about things, and you know what is weird? One of the things that's making me a little bit sad about moving is I have some of my animals buried in my backyard. Particularly, I have this one little mouse. And I know this probably sounds weird, like, what, a mouse? I had this deer mouse as a pet. My daughter found him in the yard several years ago, and he was abandoned. He was just this little teeny thing. His eyes were still closed. He was in this little ball. We waited around hoping his mother would come back, and she didn't come back. So I brought him into the house, and I hand raised this little mouse. So I had him. I used to feed him because his eyes were still sealed shut. I took this little tiny paintbrush and I would dip it in kitten formula. I would get up every 2 hours. He had to eat every 2 hours. So literally around the clock for a week, I was up with this mouse every 2 hours, hand feeding him this kitten formula on this little paintbrush. I was afraid when his eyes opened that he was going to be terrified to see this like big person, but he wasn't. He bonded to me. And this little mouse, oh my gosh, he is so special to me. And he's buried in my backyard. And this is one of the things that's so painful for me to leave. And I thought to myself, I know this probably sounds so weird. I was like, oh my gosh, should I dig up his body? But that's just disgusting. So I'm not going to dig up his body. But it's actually going to be painful for me to leave. Like it's hard. When you're with a narcissist, there are real realities to the situation. And when you leave, you're at the point where you have to escape. I'm leaving a lot of things behind. And like I said, I work at a consignment store. I have like 80 things for sale at the store right now. And I'm actually, it's been really amazing for me in a lot of ways because I can see God in this the entire time. I'm sentimental. Now, I'm not a pack rat, but I am sentimental. I got rid of so many things in my house I'm selling at work because I really need the money. And so I'm working amongst the stuff that I'm selling and I'm okay with it. Like when I've actually checked people out who have been buying my things and I'm okay with it. I'm happy about it. Like I'm here checking it out and I'm thinking to myself, oh great, that's going to go straight into my account. It's incredibly helpful, but God's really helped me out so I'm not feeling torn and emotional about these items that I have to sell. I'm also leaving a bunch of stuff behind in my home. So like I said, there are real realities, but you have to consider what's most important. I mean, if you look at it, like imagine if your house was on fire, right? You take what's most important. You get yourself, your children, your animals out. And if you could get any possessions, that's fine. But possessions are just possessions, but it's still difficult to do. And that's what I'm in the process of doing now. When I began this channel 1.5 years ago, it was about 7 months after I'd kicked my ex out of the house. At that time, I was scared, confused, and lonely. I was trying to unexpectedly raise 2 kids as a single mother, pay bills. I was terrified. I also was horrified and very, very worried that I was going to be helpless to prevent my ex moving back into the house. And this is also where I bring the meaning of the painting back in. I was desperate to hold on to my house. In a lot of ways, the house that I'm in right now is my dream house. And I couldn't bear the thought of losing my house. Just the thought destroyed me. I wouldn't even let it enter my brain. If it started to get in there, I would freak out. I didn't want to lose this house. It was horrible. And if I ever felt bad for myself, it was for that, the unfairness of losing my house. Since the summer of 2020, when I started this channel, I've grown and changed tremendously. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in today's video. Now I'm willingly and easily leaving my house. So I believe God really gifted me with a portrait of the house because it will be a reminder of how far I've come and a picture of the place I came to life. Have you ever seen a wild animal released back into a wild animal released from captivity? I've rehabbed several wild animals and a similar thing happens each time. So you have this animal. So I'll have these wild animals and I'll be rehabbing them. Once they're ready to be released, I release them as soon as possible. So I'll bring them out wherever I'm releasing them and I'll open up the cage. So I carry them out in a cage and I open up the cage. And very often when I open up the cage, they don't leave. So the cage is open, but they still stay there. So a lot of times I'll have to kind of scare them out. And once they're out, they run like hell. I feel like my house was my cage and I didn't even know it. My ex kept me trapped in this house. Even to this day, he believes that I am just sitting in the house. He knows where I am at all times. Now, he doesn't know anything that I do, but he believes he does. I'm a captive in the house. Here I was in the house and I'm like these wild animals that, you bring them out into the woods to release them, and I'm staying in the house. So the door's open and I'm staying in the house. I feel like God almost had to scare me out. That same little mouse that I was telling you about that I had, at one time he escaped from his cage. It was actually my fault. I left the cage open and he actually got out. I didn't know he was out until the next day. And when I discovered he was missing, I was horrified. I looked everywhere to try to find him. Couldn't find him. So then I went to Home Depot, and I'm not joking when I tell you this. I bought 20 humane mouse traps and I had them all over my house. I baited all these mouse traps and I went to bed. The next day I woke up and I eagerly went from trap to trap to trap, hoping I would catch him. He wasn't in them. Later that day, I was in my closet getting something, and there he was. And I was afraid at first. I was like, oh, great. I'm never going to be able to catch him. I'm never going to be able to reach down and get him. But he surprised me. I put my hand out and he climbed right on it. He wanted to be with me. He chose to be with me. He wasn't a victim of his cage. His cage wasn't a prison. He came back. When I leave my cage, I'm never coming back. My ex is not going to be able to bait any stations, and he's not going to catch me. Once I'm gone permanently. And I want to encourage everybody to have a similar attitude. I understand when you're with a narcissist, it's incredibly intimidating to think about leaving the relationship, because what you really, really want is the narcissist to change. When you've been with someone for a long time, and especially if you're in a situation like I am, and I know some of you are, because I've heard from you, where you're like a stay-at-home mom and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to make it on my own. It isn't true. I firmly believe this. Where there is a will, there is a way. Now, just remember, that doesn't mean that you'll be able to leave right away. I first started changing in 2016. It's going to be 2022 next month. So we're going on, and this happened in April. April 2016 is when I started changing. So I'm going on 6 years and I'm finally leaving. So remember that. It doesn't mean oh, all right, I have to leave right now. If I can't leave right now, I guess I'm never going to be able to leave. You do not need to be the victim of a narcissist your entire life. You just don't. Anybody, even if you're older, or even if you're a stay-at-home mom, or whatever your circumstances, you just don't believe that you'll ever be able to leave. Family reasons, religious reasons, whatever it is. What you need to do, what has helped me the most, is to have some realities in the forefront of your mind. The reality when you're with a narcissist is that you do not deserve to be in this. It's not even a relationship. It's an entanglement. It's a nightmare. You are a slave. You are a prisoner to somebody else. You're not living a free life. You don't get to enjoy your life. This is somebody who steals your soul. They take the you away from you. You become a shell of who you were. And then that makes it even harder to leave. There's a couple of things that I learned since I began this channel, and both of them came as a surprise to me. The first one, when I began this channel, I really didn't give much consideration to men who were abused by female narcissists. It was nothing to me. I was really thinking just that narcissism was just from a perspective of a woman being abused by a male narcissist. It has been a huge surprise to me to discover, and I believe this firmly, that men are it's much worse to be a man who's abused by a female narcissist. That female narcissists are unbelievably cruel. Not that men aren't, but that females are by and large, not always, but by and large, worse. The other reality that I discovered is that I don't believe that anybody can get out of a narcissistic relationship without God's involvement. The reason that I say that, and I understand, I'm just going to tell you, it's I'm honest on my channel. I believe that narcissists are demonically possessed. They are cruel on a level that is not human. And so here we are, like humans, we're flesh and blood. We're trying to beat a demonic being. I don't believe it's possible to do that without God, without putting on the armor of God, without true faith in God. I believe you have to have that to escape from a narcissist. Now, of course, there's always going to be exceptions to that, but truly, I believe it's absolutely crucial if you are in an entanglement with a narcissist to talk to God, to form a good relationship with him. God saved me from my relationship. God saved Joe from his relationship. Many other people have told me the same thing. So many people that I truly want to tell you this, because the way to get out of an entanglement with a narcissist is to have belief in yourself, belief that you can do this. And who better than the king of our universe than to get you out? You need to know who you are, what your value is. That's one of the most important things, is understanding your worth. I didn't know my worth when I was with my ex. I had no idea. He had me feel like a piece of dirt, like I was nothing, that he was like the king or something. When you understand your own worth, and I don't mean that in a vain way, like, oh, I'm so great or you're so great. I mean it just in a realistic way. What do you have to offer? Who are you? I know I was a good wife. Can you say that too? And can you say that your husband or your wife is good to you? Because if there's a mismatch there, you need to look at that. You do not deserve to be with somebody that abuses you. And if somebody is physically, emotionally, sexually abusive, that is not okay. You need to talk to God and figure out a way. And it might take time, and that's okay. It took me 6 years. It's almost 6 years. You have to save your own life. You can't wait and hope that somebody comes and rescues you. You need to do the work to get going. You will be amazed at the things that will happen. And I know some of you might be saying to yourself, well, yeah, but you have Joe. Yeah, I do, but I didn't always. I didn't have Joe until I had gotten to a certain point in my recovery. So that is how it has to be for everybody. You need to do the recovery work. Every day I realize, even last night, I realized something happened last night, and I realized that I actually have more things I need to work on. We're always evolving. We're always trying to become the best people that we can be. But there's always going to be something to change, to strive for, to have an ideal of what you want to be. And it's never too late to keep trying, to keep doing the right thing, as long as you don't give up. I would also advise some common sense things like see an attorney. Know your rights. You can go see an attorney for the first time for free. Typically, always. I think so. It was that way for me and for other people I know as well. So you go and you see the attorney for the initial consultation. The attorney can give you some information that you need as you make important decisions. Save as much money as you can. You're going to be forced to live a secret life. You can't leave a narcissist without living a secret life, because you can't tell them you're leaving the relationship. If you do, they will do everything in their power to keep you in the relationship, in the entanglement. And when you're with a narcissist, you're already weakened. So the last thing that you need is to be in a weakened condition and then have somebody who I personally believe is demonic convince you to stay, because they will have more power than you. I'll tell you a few things that I learned. Anything worth having is worth fighting for. If you're going to be fearful of something, be fearful of being in the same spot a year from now. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope it helped. I hope it encouraged. I want all of us to be free. I originally started this channel because I felt very alone, and I wanted other people who felt this way to know that they weren't alone, that there's other people out there like them. If you're in the entanglement and you want to leave, there are other people like that too. There are other people that are doing it, and they're doing it afraid. So can you. I am no different than anybody else. Appreciate you watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. I'll be back with Joe on Monday. We have a fun video that we're going to do on Monday, so that will be a surprise for then. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, and thank you again, everybody who prayed for me yesterday when I was quitting my job. I'm truly grateful for all the support. I will see you all on Monday. God bless.